Would you describe your time in space as it's probably out of this world? I mean, that's wow, that's terrible. That's terrible. I said it that way, but I think you've mentioned it is kind of the best time in your life.
Yeah, best 5 months of my life.
Best 5 months of your life, and it's past now.
Mm-hmm.
When we think about, our evolution, whether personally, professionally, as leaders, et cetera, we have these ideas in our mind, like this is the pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
How do you navigate what's next after you've experienced that pinnacle?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's something that a lot of us struggle with when we come home. Like, what's next?
Right.
We get 6 months of post-flight, so you've got some time to think and kind of get reintegrated, and you don't necessarily have to go back to work right away. I was able to spend a ton of time with my sister and her kiddos.
Yes.
But yeah, what's next? And I think for me, like the drive out to the launch pad, I was like, man, I've made it. The first time I looked out the window from Dragon, I was like, I've made it. The first time, we crossed the hatch and I went and looked out the cupola. I was like, whoa, like, wow, the hard work paid off. And I still feel like that to this day. I would have spent 4 more months in space if they had asked me to. And I would have turned around and launched right back the day that we landed. And it was because of the crewmates that I spent it with and the fulfillment that I got from the mission. But I think you can find fulfillment in a lot of ways. And my job now that I'm back, I'm going to be working with the new class of astronauts and their training for spacewalk. So in the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, our big pool, like my job is to be their mentor as they go through the spacewalk training.
Oh, wow.
And I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to have an impact and try to help teach this next generation of spacewalkers, this next generation of astronauts to be better than us, right? How do you, I find a lot of fulfillment in making the next generation better. So I think, however the fulfillment shows up for people, I think as long as you can find something there, you'll be happy. Going to space was great, but teaching and instructing and mentoring is also really fulfilling for me.
And that will be 10 of them? How many will that
10.
be?
Yep.
10.
Mm-hmm.
So then you'll have 13. You'll be on to for 13
there you
people.
go.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself since then? You've evolved as a leader through different situations, high threat, high risk, safety is paramount, all of those different experiences. And now you're back on Earth and you're about to, mentor. How have you evolved your leadership, and where would you say you're trying to go?
Where am I trying to go? I think for me, leadership is also about being vulnerable and being open and honest with people about failures or hardships. And so, like in the flying community, if you make a mistake, you're immediately like, hey, I messed this up. Here's how we fix it. And that's something that we do at NASA as well, especially on a grand scale, right? Thousands of employees and everybody, that's the only way that we get to space is by, admitting when we've made mistakes, talking to each other about how we fix it, and sharing those lessons learned. And so I think that especially when you get into the higher roles of leadership, it's important to go, hey, I messed up, or hey, I don't know the answer.
Right.
And being transparent with the people that you're working with. And if you don't know it, but you know where to go find it, I'll get that answer for you, right? Right. Instead of making up an answer or trying to figure out how to look like you're in charge, right? It's really important to me to also show that we don't know everything. We're human. We make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes as long as you share it and you share the lessons learned and you make the next person better.
Did you experience that personally? Did you have a moment in which you had to say, hey, I made a mistake, and that's helped you realize that being vulnerable is really important? Or is that just something you've seen done really well?
I've admitted a lot of mistakes. I made a couple pretty big mistakes in the Raptor. Everybody's going to make a big mistake at some point in their life. And I think that was something that was modeled really well in the flying community early on. And it's something that's not tolerated. If you're not willing to share your lessons learned, it's not tolerated in our community. And
that's a good thing.
Yeah. I learned that in pilot training, right? If your buddy in your class makes the same mistake the next day that you made, you get in trouble because you didn't tell them how to prevent that, right?
Right.
And so it's fostered early on, especially in the flying community. I can't speak to any other community because I grew up there, but it's fostered early on, and so it's just something that comes naturally, I think, eventually because you've seen it done so many times.
Right.
And if you want other people to succeed, you're going to do it.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this leadership lesson, watch the full episode by hitting the thumbnail here. And subscribe now to get the latest episodes of Long Blue Leadership delivered directly to your YouTube feed or wherever you get your podcasts.